You're branding me all over. You're just
Yes. Yes, you got it. I like my new space.
That's
yeah,
great.
you both
Yeah.
guys seem a lot younger. Like I
We've
don't know.
we've been in a good place, getting our space straight and ourselves. I've been doing a lot more reading
It's
on
only
human
been
design.
1 week.
Hey, Julian.
Hi, how are
Only been
you?
1 week.
Super.
Yeah, it's only been 1 week and you guys look way younger. I can't believe it.
Thank you.
We've been doing the routine every day, a couple times a day, and really watching our stress. We hadn't been fighting. That makes a big difference.
Takes a lot out of you to
It
fight.
does.
Yeah, it's useless.
Makes
Yeah.
you old.
Oh, what kind of routine have you been doing? The one we do on a live or something custom?
Yeah,
Is
I've been
it
doing the lymph at least twice a day. I've been walking a lot, especially early of a day and after we do the movement. I feel like that the integration you're talking about, I feel like I get more out of it if I walk like early and late. It's like the early routine and then the late routine. And staying in that cycle has really helped me. I think I think that the routine, I think I'm like a little baby. It's like I'm much better on a routine. I'm much happier. I'm a happier baby.
A little different routine in the evenings as well. We take off and go somewhere,
Yeah,
even if it's nowhere in particular.
just get out for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Last night we rode over to my daughter's place. I took her some sprouts because I have them coming out of my ears at this point. I have so many, and I took her a big stack of them like this. And both of our daughters were there, and they're making gingerbread cookies. They're making the dough, and they're making Christmas cookies for everyone. They do this every year, and so it was just super. They're just so sweet and loving and generous, and they're both excellent, bakers, and they're just around the holidays. They're just so sweet over there, covered in flour and making a mess and laughing and punching the cookie dough. And David and I are just like, how did these amazing creatures happen to us?
Yeah.
So
Maybe that's it.
That made us really happy.
We do carry their glow for a while with us after we get to see them for a few minutes.
That's great. They picked good parents.
Thank you.
It sure feels good to get hugs from them when they slow down. They're very busy. They're always working. So when we can see them, it's super fun. What have you been up to this weekend, Jolene?
I was just telling, I create lines that I had some people come over and look at some artwork, so that was nice.
Ooh.
And I always have a lot of leftover stock. Things come and go and sell, and then there's stuff that gets returned for changes or whatever from our agent. And then some stuff will stick around a couple, 3 years, and I'll look at it and go, okay, this is going to be a blowout sale. So sometimes we just, dump stuff for really cheap. Or I paint over it. A lot of times I'll have, 4 different paintings on one piece of canvas. They keep changing.
Well,
okay, time to go. Or if I really like one, I'll be like, it just hasn't found its right person yet. So I'll hold on to it for a while.
You have such so many works. I mean, I was looking at your website, some of the stuff you have, and it's just like such a volume.
Done quite a bit. I've been doing this for probably about 18 years now. So it's a lot of time spent painting for sure.
just think way in the future, some museum curator is going to find these other hidden layers under your artwork.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking.
Be an archaeological project.
That's amazing. I have a
Thanks
friend.
for sharing the audio recording with us of the last meeting. It turns out that we end up with some good discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I've been enjoying getting together with y'all.
Definitely.
That's why I'm like every single session, like one-on-one, and now these calls, and even some, like I have a guy contact me about some collaboration. We're gonna do a Zoom call tomorrow, and I'm gonna record it. It doesn't like I don't want to have conversations with people and leave it up to chance that if we say something profound like we did last time, that it's not something we can share with someone else. So from now on, I'm just recording everything, and then if it's good, post it. If it's not good, I mean not good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mhm.
I told you I'm getting some ideas from you, so I'm going to start the same thing in some of my web meetings this week. I'm going to record everything.
Nice. Do you have ideas what you want to do with it?
Parts and pieces may be useful for some others on the training side. But got some work coming up with some individuals, but I'm going to try to record some of that and see what can come from that. A lot of times, just working with an individual, I'll come up with a different way to say something because it's a little different than a group. They don't hesitate to let you know they don't understand, and you might have to put something 2 or 3 different ways, and sometimes I can get a little more creative in explaining something, and all of a sudden that might be a particular example or something that would be helpful to a group later.
Yeah, because like the group, maybe somebody's hesitant to bring something up and to criticize you and like push you in a different direction. And like when a person is alone with you, then they're like easier to become vulnerable and say stuff to you. So I get it.
I think so. I think in a group format, people tend to protect themselves and they tend to protect the instructor a little bit. They won't call you out as quickly on something that doesn't make sense, or they won't expose their own, I didn't get that. You got to put it a different way, you know. So yeah, I've been enjoying some of the one-on-one training that I get to do sometimes.
Nice.
I was thinking about your place there, Jolene, and some of the beautiful things you've sent us to take a look at. I've got my cacti cup.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. You'd
That's
fit right
actually
in
my
here,
cacti.
Arizona.
That's actually my cacti cup, but he's confiscated it.
Uh-huh.
He uses it more than I do.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's the one that's looking sharp, and I'm the one that's usually bristly. I hope you were able to get some pieces moved and some things sold that you wanted to this weekend, Jolene.
Yeah, the people actually took, I think, 5 paintings to their house to kind of hold them up because they're not stretched, they're on rolled canvas. So I said, just, they couldn't decide and they didn't know if the colors were going to be exactly right. So I said, well, before you commit to something, why don't you just take them to your house? They live right down the street from us. And I said, just hold them up and see what works and what doesn't, because they look different in the space once you get them in there. So I'll just wait and hear from them next week sometime.
All right.
Is there anything troubling anyone that you would like to share? Like, I don't know, something that we can support as a group?
I've been struggling for the past year or two with a big hawk just flew by. Wow, it's beautiful.
Ooh.
At least he didn't slam into the window like they do half the time.
Oh,
Um,
goodness.
I've got this ringing in my ear. It's tinnitus, I guess, or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it. And it's been driving me crazy. And I actually went to the doctor about it, and he looked in my ear, said my eardrum was really swollen. They think it might be partly allergies in addition to the regular ringing. But today when I woke up, I thought, wow, it's really reduced. So I was very grateful about that because it's been driving me crazy.
Mm.
Does anybody else have that issue?
I have had tinnitus for many, many years. My father has
Mm.
it really bad to
Mm-hmm.
the point that it like really affects his thought process.
Yeah, it can drive you crazy.
It really can. I find mine does ramp up as an allergic type reaction if I eat foods, certain foods. I find it gets worse. I find it's worse of an evening after I have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
For me, also, it is less in the
Mm-hmm.
mornings after I have not eaten for hours. So, and I've been reading and studying about it, different people's ideas of what it is, where it comes from, how it's not really an ear issue, that it's more like the nerve between your ear and your brain,
Brain. Yeah,
the little thin,
right. Your
thin.
brain kind of compensates.
Yeah, so I'm
Mm.
studying it right now, actually trying to learn more about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had it for a long time. You know, for a long time I thought it was because I went to so many concerts when I was younger. And we'd always, we
Yeah,
always had to be
same
down
here.
front. We always had to be down front, we had to go early and stay late. I mean, total assault on the ears. So I'm sure that has something to do with
Yeah.
it. But yeah, it would be nice to know something to relieve it when it gets ramped up really high.
And I just started thinking, like, why is this happening? Is it a different vibrational frequency I'm supposed to be
Mm,
tuning into to adjust my energy
mm,
field? And I looked it up. And have you heard of Louise Hay, the You Can Heal Your Life book, where she lists all the different conditions and then she'll tell you kind of what
yes.
caused them? And I looked up tinnitus, and it was not listening to your higher self. And I thought, okay, yeah, that's
Hmm.
probably true. So it just makes you kind of reflect and start doing a little bit more meditation and pay attention and try and listen to. And then with that, a second thing that is happening because of that, a lot of times if I get overly stressed or overly busy, then I get dizzy. And I hate
Mm,
that, just dizzy or vertigo kind of thing where you just feel really off, and that can really ruin your day. So that's what my issues have been lately, but I kind of know what causes them, where they're going. It's just a matter of working on it and really paying attention and being mindful about it, trying to get in touch with it.
you are speaking to a lot of things that I can directly relate to. I think when I get dizzy, sometimes it's because my body is flushing things. I have
Mm,
seen it. I've seen it happen after I've gone for a long time without eating, maybe just drinking, hot drinks, warm water,
mm,
warm tea. and not eating a lot. And then as soon as I eat something, I'll get dizzy. I'll feel that lightheaded feeling. And it's like, whoa. And I think it's because my body has been cleansing. And then when I eat something, it like flushes. I don't know. That's my reasoning behind it recently as I've been experimenting, because I'm experimenting on myself, trying to figure out, what makes me feel good, what makes me sluggish, when do I not feel dizzy, when do I feel dizzy. And I think I'm like flushing a super amount of toxins right now because I'm drinking warm beverages all the time, and I'm eating less overall and no meat at all. So to me, I think it's a symptom for me of flushing toxins. I don't know. It's a guess. Do you have any ideas about these things, Dennis?
Well, for tinnitus, you can do fascia maneuvers for the head. So you can do this one. So right hand on the temple and left hand, and then they meet in the middle. And then you breathe and move around. Then you can do the same thing with your ears, just opposite. So with the ears, it's not right hand forward, left hand back. It's right hand back, left hand forward. So with your left hand, it's like starting a car. With the right hand, it's like reverse of that. And also you breathe. And yeah, so tinnitus, yeah, I also resonate quite with what you said about not listening to yourself and being, I don't know, maybe. So I know I'm very sensitive to sound, and I'm very sensitive also to like a lot of Wi-Fi, a lot of high-pitched sounds. If I'm on the roof of this guest house that I'm staying at, and there's a lot of like drilling and people banging stuff, I can't eat. I can't post stuff on Instagram. It's just like, ugh. And I know it's also because my diet is super light, but it also is the kind of thing that maybe you develop this over time. Maybe the more you become sensitive to certain things, it's like maybe the tinnitus, in my opinion, is not like something we develop. Maybe this ringing has always been there, but we've just been deaf to it. Maybe this is the sound of. Although then it makes me wonder, like if you're over there in nature, like what could be ringing over there? So I don't know. I don't know. I think it could be something to do with pressure as well, like pressure, air pressure, So nerves, I'm thinking of this little nerve not having enough oxygen, and then the pressure of the lack of oxygen to the nerve is making it, like Dave, like a string that is too tense, and then it's creating a buzzing sort of. That's what I'm imagining. And then KC about the detox, yeah, like if you change stuff, it's gonna take time for the body to adapt. It's gonna be like fever, headaches, trembling, vertigo, changing of the pressure. The more sensitive you become, like you say, the more when you experiment, the more you'll be able to kind of tune in to what is good for you, what is not. And I just want to end with saying how cool it is that before you came, Jolyn, on the first live we did together, Dave and KC mentioned that they want to do a present. I mean, we kind of agreed, but they mentioned that they really love Louise Hay, and they want to do like a whole session just with her content. So it's very, very interesting that you just brought it up without knowing all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love her, man.
Yeah, she's the best. And I looked up dizziness too under her list of issues, and that one said too many thoughts racing around in your head. I was like, yeah, guilty.
Yes. That one is certainly true.
Like keeping tabs open. I realized this yesterday. Like I almost can't do multiple things at once. And I've been programmed to do like, okay, I'm making tea. While I'm making tea, I'm gonna send a DM on Instagram. Or while a video is editing, I'm gonna schedule the next 5 lives on Insight Timer. This makes me this tears me apart. And I really need to be like one thing at a time. There's enough time in a day, there's enough time in this lifetime. Just go one step at a time. Otherwise, the day is done and I'm just all over the place. So and
Mm.
people say it's like keeping tabs on a browser open. Like if you have a million tabs, you're not going to look at you're not going to look at neither of them. You think you're being more productive, but it's not more productive.
That's a great analogy because multitasking, I think, is just uh, um, a buzzword from 80s corporate culture or something. You're going to diffuse your energy and your focus, and you really won't give any single one thing the attention that it deserves.
No.
When you're in that mode, I find the same thing. Um, um, I was trained otherwise, or trained to think that I wouldn't be good enough if I didn't multitask, to some degree. And then I realized then I started to wonder, why have I got so many things started and nothing finished? So that was another sort of another issue that I judged myself about as well. And I think I was trying to do too many things at once.
Mhm.
And it's not like we can't do it. Like if our life was in danger, we would be able to multitask in a second. Your whole body would go into overdrive and you'd be like hyper aware, and we are able to multitask. It's just not something that we're supposed to be doing like day in and day out. It's really stressful.
I
And
agree.
isn't it physically impossible to think more than one thought at a time? If you're thinking of something, you can't think more than one thought at a time. But if you think you're multitasking, you're really not. You're just doing a bunch of little things really quickly and jumping from one to the next. So your brain just gets really overactivated, and it seems like it could be overstimulating.
You're right. The term itself is a farce. I mean, you're doing one thing, and switching wildly between them very fast. Um,
Because if you're thinking of love, you can't be thinking of hate at the same time. You can switch to hate, but if you're thinking about one thing like love, 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 that there's no room for the hate to enter at that exact moment or that split second when you're thinking that thought.
that's a beautiful example. I'll try to stay singularly focused on love.
Mm.
Love for all.
I agree with you. I think it is part of the culture to be trained. I was a multitasker at a couple of my jobs, and I was really good at it. But it was, you really can't actually do two things at once. I was just able to switch,
Mhm.
like lightning between 9 different things. But, mentally, that was very taxing for me. But I was young and full of energy, and, you know, I was able to do it.
Yeah, same.
Now I absolutely, I enjoy so much. It feels like a luxury to do one thing at a time. It feels
Mhm.
um, gentle, and I don't make as many mistakes. And when I'm done with a task or 5 different tasks, I'm I'm not exhausted.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, multitasking is not really for real. It's just something we're kind of trained. It's like, oh, if you're not super efficient, then you're not as valuable.
That's been the stamping from our culture has told us that multitasking and being fast and getting efficient, how much have you done? What are you working on? That kind of thing is valued, and you're a good person. If you're not doing much and you're doing one thing at a time, you're slow, you're lazy,
Yeah.
useless. So that's just how we've grown up, and that's what we were trained. But thank goodness we're starting to restructure that now.
Yeah. Of course, Kay still has that talent. She can switch like a Pentium processor from one thing to the other, and I'm more like the old switchboard operators who has to pull the wire out of this hole and then connect it into this slot. And now I'm online in that slot.
That's a good visual.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just made a response and a video about this, about the difference between a mani gen and a regular gen. And that's exactly the difference is like when you look at a generator type in human design, it's like an engine that takes a little bit of time to get going, and then it goes, and then takes time to wind down. Like a pure generator, like you, Dave, like you just said, you take a lot of time to get going, and then you need to burn it all up and then move on to the other thing. And a mani gen, like KC, is much like the starting time until the engine goes full, and the stopping time is much shorter, and that's why it can be like "Ooh, ooh," and then another thing. So much quicker. So this is perfect how it's aligned.
That's been one very, very beneficial thing about the human design studies in learning about one another and having more just patience and understanding, even just conversationally. Which she says sometimes I talk like William Shatner, and she's into 4 different subjects, before I can finish a sentence.
I'll start talking and he's like, you interrupted me. And I'm like, I thought you were done.
I used to have a friend that would talk so slow and just spend so much open space searching for the perfect word, and it would make me uncomfortable because I didn't know about human design, just kind of waiting for things to unfold. And so I would fill in the blanks. Like I'd fill in probably 5 words before she came to her word, and she would look at me and go, no, no. I learned like, ooh, I'm getting scolded. She was really letting me know that she wanted to find her own word and do not help me right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And she would always come up with a word I would have never thought of that was brilliant and perfect for what she was explaining. That was a real good lesson for me.
Yes. Embrace the pause.
Mm-hmm.
I am learning to embrace the pause for others and for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice. It's nice.
Yes.
I guess conversationally, that's a little bit related to the void that we were talking about last week. In the after and between, or in the after and before, actually.
How was it? I read somewhere. It was like when somebody speaks, you can like they can be loud, but you can still kind of hear the silence underneath the words, or somebody can be loud and you can hear the loudness underneath. And that's like if somebody is comfortable in the silence, then as loud as they are, you will hear this background of peace.
Mm.
And somebody can be loud, and then underneath the loudness you hear another layer of even when they stop talking, it's still loud somehow.
Hmm.
And I feel like the whole society is like double loud. Even if nobody's talking, you still kind of hear this buzzing, this I think it's restlessness. I think it's restlessness and like stress and high strung nerves and blood pressure and everything. So
Mm. I can definitely feel that in certain settings around a lot of folks. Even if no one is talking like to each other, there's like this broadcast
mhm.
kind of that is just kind of it's like tinnitus coming from the outside. It's like a loud, you know. It's like I feel it
It's
on
a
my face.
living tinnitus.
Yeah, it's like I feel it on my face. It's like I just want to get out of here. These people are on my face.
Sometimes that happens and I'm the only one in the room.
No, that's no.
You mentioned blood pressure. I have heard of high blood pressure being a possible cause as well for tinnitus.
Mhm.
Kay, you had mentioned your dad, and I thought that that's something that came up years ago,
Yeah,
perhaps, or something that was, at least someone told him was a contributing factor at one point in time.
yeah. When he does have some blood pressure issues, or he used to, not so much anymore. It's not. Dad also worked in a lot of really loud environments. He worked, on cars and in a car dealership where they worked on cars all the time, so it was always really loud in there. And he also was in the Army, and he did a lot of marksmanship and stuff. So, and he said, they never wore ear protection in service. So blood pressure is, I have low blood pressure, so I it's not a factor for me. So it is I think it's probably different for different people, but I remember actually getting it sometimes as a child. My ear would start ringing, and where I was as a child, when it would happen, I would think, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong,"
Mm.
you know,
Oh,
because it was
wow.
always, always trying to avoid doing something wrong, when you're a child. And if I was in the middle of doing something and my ear would start ringing, I would be like, "What? I'm not, what am I doing?" I was very much in my head as a child. Um, so I
It's
have had it intermittently, I think, my whole life. Um, but I could see how it could be a frequency that you could just sense in certain things, either within or without, I think.
it's
Mhm.
fascinating what the things we're gonna tie to things with just simple things that our body does naturally, and because we're kind of afraid of it when we're kids or even now in adulthood, that we're going to assign some meaning to it just to explain for us, like you said. I can only imagine how how self-detrimental it is to have like, oh my God, my ears are ringing, it must be my fault. Or like that's such a burden to put on yourself. Almost like, your parents get divorced, it must be my fault. Grandma's mad, it must be my fault. That's like a
Mm,
le that's like a level that like the whole society is kind of wired to taking these things when we're kids from the parents, thinking it's our fault. But wow, like really, and really doing it for something that's an involuntary thing from the body is a next level step. And I'm saying all this because I do the same thing, just now with tinnitus. I go like, let's say sometimes like you said, you get vertigo from something. You just stand up too quickly, you get vertigo. So these kind of little things, and I would like to tie that into the multitasking we talked about, which you said, Dave, is like like society makes us think we're not good enough and we should all be able to do it. All these things like, oh, I stood up, I got a little bit of vertigo, and I almost always immediately go, okay, what could I have done better? Someone else would not get vertigo. Someone else would be able to multitask. Someone else would not be getting tinnitus. Always comparing to another person who has this little part, then you stub your toe on furniture and I go like, if I was this, and this person, I would have evaded the couch or whatever.
oh man, I'm glad I'm not the only person that does this. I,
Me
I I
too.
always I mean I'm sorry this happens to other people, but at least it must be part of the human condition, because I thought it was just and again, even penalizing yourself for the thoughts. It's like, oh, if I'm thinking this, there must be something wrong with me. It's like everything that happens is my fault, and there's something wrong with me. It's like, where does that come from?
It really does layer because you'll have the initial thought and then it's like, well, why am I thinking that? You know,
I'm glad we could laugh at it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
and with Jillian, I'm glad to hear that you are seeing some relief in that. I do know that, which I've only had that happen to me short term, with the tinnitus, just various periods of time, and unfortunately, it was during times where I was not in tune enough to myself to pay attention to that being a thing, and then what could have caused it. So I have nothing I learned from that because I wasn't paying enough attention during the times when I had it. But I'm glad to hear that you're having some relief now, a bit.
Thank you.
Um, and you guys have already hit on some of the things that have been sort of bothering me lately with the buzz. Of course, here in the States, getting close to the after Thanksgiving and now the um, Christmas holiday and all of the commercialism, the high speed, high energy, low compassion, low just the whole way that everybody is operating and moving about here lately has been causing sometimes a bit of um, stress for me when I go out, when I just see, um, and when I get, or when I tune in, which I'm not tuning much into any news or any media. Um, I come online to see you guys, which I enjoy quite a bit. But yeah, we can go out and I can feel that, and um, so that's, I guess that's been really the biggest source of stress here lately is how it seems everyone is behaving and treating one another in the season of what should be the season of gratitude and thanks and caring for one another. It seems the contrast gets to me.
Exactly. It's so ironic that it's supposed to be the season of love and giving and kindness. And I think a lot of that expectation and the busyness, and people get so pressured that they just go the exact opposite way and they come unglued.
Mm.
Seems like more people come unglued that, you'll see the bits of kindness here and there and you'll be like, wow, that was really nice of them, but it's not the majority. But I think that's life in general as well. It's easier to just let your garden grow weeds as opposed to trying to manicure it and have beautiful flowers. If you don't have to work at something to really get the beauty out, then it's just going to turn into weeds anyway. So there's that reward for putting the effort in to grow an orchid as opposed to just letting things fall apart.
Mm.
Oh, yes.
Mm. Yeah.
So you see those little sprinkles of kindness and niceness during the season, and they seem maybe extra special. So we can put our focus on those more and make those expand in that smaller space than the bigger noise. So it's up to us, I suppose, to try and look for the good things, although it's very challenging.
Mm.
It's just a lot of distraction, and I realize that now because I was distracted for 50 years in one way or the other. So what used to trigger some anger for me now sometimes leads to depression or a little bit of sadness or a little bit of, man, and gratitude because, wow, I'm glad I'm paying attention now, and I know these folks are they're just distracted with the conditioning that they're under, and so it hits me differently. It's an effect in a way, but it hits me differently than before. It used to be an anger reflex, but um, you know. Now you
That's
just have to
probably
send out the love and blessings as best as you
yeah,
can. And
the anger is probably the easier emotion just to the go-to. It's right there. It's real fresh and it makes you feel validated initially. But then once you start going deep and thinking about things, then you start understanding what might be going on behind people that are not happy or causing irritations. And then you go down the rabbit hole and drive yourself crazy that way too. So, and
Yeah.
life
yes,
isn't easy.
Yeah.
I stayed in the angry shallows for quite some time.
Mhm.
So I like the way you put that. Going
Yeah.
deeper, definitely.
I think I used to be in a place more also of judgment of others. Like, how could they act that way? Or how could they drive that way? Or look at that person, how rude she is, or, and instead of which, that cuts both ways, if I'm sitting there judging. And now I really try to just see everyone from a place of compassion because, I've been there, I've been worse. Um, anyone I see and what they're doing is, a reflection of a part of me. I try to see that, I'm capable of that also. There's no judgment. I really try to be in that place. And, someone's being rude or inconsiderate or whatever, instead of judging, it's just kind of like, oh, just, wonder what else she's dealing with. Or, he's probably he could be rushing to a sick relative, or something. There's just like, I think it's just so much better if we can just hold a space for one another instead of all the judgment. There's this judgment, there's that judgment, there's all these divisions.
Mm.
And instead just just if we could just hold space for one another. I have learned so much of that in the last couple of years. Just it's still new to me to be able to do that, and it gives me more space for myself to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I like what you said, tending the orchid. I like that expression for just moving through and caring for ourselves and our lives. Tending the orchid is because orchids, they take a lot of patience, a lot. So tending the orchid could really be something for me to keep in mind when I'm doing something and it keeps going wrong, or it's taking a lot longer than I expected, or 3 other things have come in and gotten in the way. I'm like, okay, I'm just tending the orchid. I think I can remember that.
That's good. Yay.
Yeah, Jillian, I really like how you put that as well. It tells me that we've each got something that's very unique and beautiful in us that you do have to work for, but can come out and give a lot of pleasure to others.
And orchids in general are just a bizarre plant. It's almost like they're little people or little sprites or little fairies. If you look at the different types of orchids, some look like monkeys. I've seen so many different pictures, and I think this cannot be a real flower or a real plant.
Yeah.
It looks so fake because it'll look like a little girl in a dress or
Yeah.
whatever. They're just really unique creatures. I think they're little aliens.
They're fascinating, that's for sure.
I agree, Dave, with what you said about going first into anger and now realizing that going into sadness it feels weaker, but in the long run, it's true. It's like if I go into anger, I feel powerful, but it doesn't change anything for me or for the other person. I just postpone the sadness. And I also go into like what I'm struggling is what I'm struggling with is so I understand on like a mind level. I feel somebody mistreat me in traffic and in the line at the grocery store, or a person sells me this melon that I'm eating, and I say thank you and smile, and that person looks at me, like, what do you want from me? And then I go around and thinking, why can't you just nod your head or say also goodbye or whatever? Why does it have to be a death stare? And I and then I say, okay, like this person is suffering. Like this is what I'm going to almost all day, every day when walking outside. Okay, this person's suffering. Okay, wow, this person's really suffering. And then, like you said, Casey, like who knows if they have a sick relative? Who knows? Maybe they're working a job, like you say, Dave. They've been distracted their whole lives. They don't even know that they could be working a better job with better pay. They don't even recognize their own talents to apply for a better job. They might, and then you can further go into maybe because of the holidays, they're full of processed sugar, which is stuck in their bowels, which is making them cranky. Maybe they're full of chemical, and children as well. And then I'm just gonna quickly do a sidestep as to, oh, it's flu season. It's not flu season, it's after the holidays, and people have eaten all kinds of things without thinking about it. And now suddenly everyone has the flu. No, everybody's just detoxing. So this is a detour. What I'm struggling with is that I see these things with my mind. I know why people are struggling. I see the society, like you say, Dave. You made this image of people having like a cloud in front of their face. You can see it in the streets when people walk around, and it's almost like density in front of the face. They can't see anything. It's just, you know, like in the phone or in the mind. What I'm struggling with is like I can understand all these things on a mind level. Why is it happening? It's not about me. Don't judge. They're suffering. It's their life. But what I'm struggling with is my body rejecting and not being able to be next to these next to people who are so deep. And then I kind of guilt trip myself as to if I was stronger, I would be able to be next to any type of frequency. And this includes my parents. Like right now, I don't know, like I've been home in Croatia almost the entire summer, and it has been so difficult just sitting and breathing next to my parents. All the addictions, all the food, their breath rate is, I can't even reach that. They can't even reach me. We can't talk. And then I have this split in my mind, like, don't be angry at them. Don't judge them. They are suffering. They're your parents. Like, I'm grateful, all these things. But physically, like you say, physically, my body's rejecting it. And I don't know how to accept this, like without guilt or something. And we know it's the best for us. You know, when you're next to somebody and perpetually they're doing the same thing, you're feeling the same way, conversation's not flowing two ways, it's you just feel you don't want to be around them. So, and many people around me have no issue with that, have no issue with boundaries, cutting off people, just not going there anymore. I'm like, you're inviting me, I'm just not going to go there anymore. Or siblings, and it's most difficult with family. So I don't know how you guys manage. Do you guys have guilt with this, or?
It's certainly most difficult with family, and I still have some guilt associated with that very same thing, being, you know, visiting, and wow, we should enjoy this time, and I should through and through be feeling the joy of just the visit and being there, but there's parts of me that are not enjoying the place and the surroundings. And then I feel guilty for that, and then it's like I start to explore that and try to diagnose that in my mind. Well, am I judging others because of these feelings? You know, and so I still do suffer from some of that as well. And I back to the human design. Honestly, I'm learning a lot about, you know, this is me. It's okay to be me, feel what I feel, and the more in tune we are to our surroundings, the more we're naturally going to have some aversion to some things that are not necessarily healthy for us. But it does not mean we do not love the folks, and can still be, I would just say, in those times, be as present as you can, because that is special time. And um, um, you know, and I carry some of that time now is gone, and I can't get it back. But you make the very best out of it, even looking for the commonalities and enhancing even the slightest common joy, and bringing that to the forefront of that time together.
Yeah, that was very well put. I think there's a lot to that. And I think maybe just limiting the actual physical time. You said you spent the entire summer there. That's too much. Maybe a weekend. Can't remember the exact quote, but have you guys heard of Paramahansa Yogananda? The saint that came from India. he was saying one time, I think it was him, I don't even know, that why would you spend time next to a horrible smell if it's, you know, like compost or sewage or whatever? Why would you literally stand there and subject yourself to that when you can step away or go somewhere where there's a nice rose or something that is pleasant? So you do have that choice to make, whether you want to have your physical senses embedded in that disaster, or do you want to have a pleasant experience? But there are times when we need to go to that stressful situation, because I think those are where our biggest lessons are learned.
Mhm. Mm.
Just make it be a little more manageable. Say, okay, I've had enough right now. I'm going to step away and try this again in a month, or get back into it, you know, just dip your toe in it a little bit at a time instead of saturating yourself with it.
Yeah. Moderation.
Moderation.
Mhm. And I used to really, guilt myself if I didn't visit enough, if I didn't, you know, bake cookies and a lasagna to take with me when I went, and and then I'd feel really bad if I was there 15 minutes and really wanted to go. I was like totally beating myself up in my head. So I had to really let go of that. I realized that, if I keep feeling guilt, I'm just going to start resenting them. So I had to totally be okay with just not going if I didn't feel like it. Like Dennis says, if ask me, do I want to go? If the first answer isn't, yeah, let's go, then that's a no. And so, yeah, I had to like not visit as often. And there's been some blowback for that, but I'm I'm doing better. I'm spending more time on things that I need to do so that when I go, I'm fully present. I'm not thinking, oh gosh, how soon can I get out of here? And I'm not, putting pressure on myself to, I don't have to take a bunch of stuff for them to love me. I'm just going to come visit them because I can be more present when I'm not exhausted and resenting them already when I show up. I don't know if anybody's stuff went as far as that. I was really far down the road with that stuff, with guilt over my obligations to my family. And I really had to get okay with just letting a lot of that go. And it took some time. And I still will, something will happen and the old wiring will kick in and I'll start having some feelings, but I'm aware of it now. It's like, okay, I feel that kicking in, and that's not anything that I want. That's not anything anybody else wants. Really learning how to put myself first and being in a place of comfort for me.
And I'll bet now that you're more settled and comfortable with that, it probably radiates to make the recipients or whoever you're talking about more calm and comfortable and a little more at ease as well, because they're not feeling that stress coming in.
I hope so. I hope so.
We're no less available as a matter of fact. Yes, to your point, Jolene, probably in a better condition to be more available and more helpful, and we are here when they call and very responsive. But it is like dialing in a frequency and what is kind of just right. And oh no, that was kind of too much family, and maybe this is not enough. And okay, here we are. But we're no less available to those we love.
It's just a different approach, I would expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, after I learned about my human design, being a projector and not trying to micromanage everyone and tell them what you should do, blah, blah, blah. It's like nobody wants to hear me. Everyone will talk over me, and I really try to get my voice heard. And I learned just to zip it, shut up, and that really changed a lot of the dynamics with the people on the other side that I was dealing with. That it allowed more space for them to actually ask me questions when they wanted to. It's kind of like, why is she being so quiet these days, or what's going on? It changed things, and there was a little disruption while this new dynamic went into play. And now it just seems like it is, people get used to the new you, and then they start calming down and settling into the new way that things are operating. So it becomes a little bit more peaceful and more manageable.
I really feel like that I could just talk with y'all all day. You know,
Yeah, the time.
Yeah, it flies by
So
really
many
quickly.
times you get together with people and there's so much small talk, and I just want to go, okay, I'm out. I like the details. Why are we wasting our breath?
So the entire day I spent hiking with some group I met over WhatsApp here in Malaga, and the entire day I almost didn't talk almost nothing, and it was amazing. It was a national park, it was sunshine, like it was really an enjoyable hike for like 5 hours. And I don't want to focus on me not talking. I just want to say, in response to what you guys are saying, is that I've spent the entire day slowly trying to kind of say something into the group, say something to be to have the same. And everyone talked mostly about food, how much they drank, how much they got wasted, this rave, that rave. I'm not saying like I don't want to, once again, I'm not judging. I'm just stating facts. I'm just stating how it was. And whenever I would try to say something, I would get so ignored, and then I stopped trying. Eventually, I stopped trying. And I just want to make a contrast of like I spent the 5 to 6 hours periodically trying to say something into a group, and it drained me so much. And in this group, if I didn't say anything for the entire conversation and I just listened to you guys, it fills me up more than actually saying something. So it's mind-boggling how like you guys say, it's just matter of frequency. What are we tuned into? Just deafness or complete openness?
Mhm. Like-minded, I think they call it.
Yeah, we've definitely found just an awesome little group here. I'm so thankful that Dennis has got this going on, and for Insight Timer for putting it out there where we could meet. And
Yes,
yeah, it's
I really
just
look
been.
forward to it. Yeah, for sure.
Kay and I were talking earlier today that, it took me, she's been involved for quite some time, and it took me another 2, maybe 2.5 years to sort of join in. But I'm certainly glad to be part of the group, and when I open myself up to these good influences that are right beside me, I keep benefiting.
Smelling the rose instead of the compost pile.
Yes, the compost was me.
All of us.
This has been such a lovely conversation today. I have even more gratitude for today. This meeting after Dennis posted our last meeting, and David and I listened to it last night, and I was like, wow, we were really good. was like, wow, we were good. You know, and if you hadn't have done that, that conversation would have been gone. I mean, I'd have forgot about it. It would have just been gone. So thank you for that. And then today I've been conscious of what we're talking about and how important this is. So, yeah, I enjoyed this one even much more so than the last one. So
There's something very, very powerful in me that gets that comes online. I really enjoy amplifying other people's voices. I really enjoy using my platforms, my voice to channel someone else's. So yeah.
You know, there were several things in the last meeting that we agreed that we actually needed to hear again yesterday.
mm-hmm.
We needed to hear the message again for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked the part where you only have what you give away. That I think that was a big part of last week's. And after we left the meeting, I was thinking that was very appropriate because we had done that thieves market and gotten rid of a bunch of stuff that was buried in the shed. Really nice, collectible, real special, unique, limited edition items that when we had out on 8 6-foot tables under a tent for people to come and see, they actually brought new life to people. And we had so many customers coming up that were just like, oh my God, where did you get this? I haven't seen this in years. I've never seen this or whatever. And they would buy things and go away. So it gives those little items an extra shine because they're not in the dark, buried in boxes in the shed. And you're actually making other people happy by, purging and giving away. So what you give away, you have those memories, and it feels really good to think that you made somebody's day. So
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, people are walking around in their special space and smiling because of what you shared with them last week.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I hate to break away. I know we had better get on our way.
Too.
We've again invited to a bit of a holiday / business function, and now I'm going to have some love and compassion for all. And as I go about my way, I think you guys have, in a way, given me some armor,
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a good way.
Well, soft armor.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like just got this like aura. Yeah, I have definitely felt my frequency change just sitting and talking with y'all.
Definitely. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All of your
Yeah.
input. And thanks for having the platform, Dennis, for all of us to be able to be here for that. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
We do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're helping wanderers find one another.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a good week, you all.
All right.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Bye.